Hey, welcome to my channel. My name is Aaliyah, and in this video I'm going to do 18 books I want to read in 2018. Now these are books that have already been on my shelf and that I haven't cracked open in a long time, that I haven't even read. Some of them I'm embarrassed to say that I haven't read yet and I've had on my shelf for years. So let's jump right into it and start with number one. The first book that I am reading currently is A Praying Life by Paul E. Miller. And this is just talking about why we don't approach God in prayer. Are we intimidated by it? And it talks about the internal heart of prayer first, and then also the external of how we can practically pray. So I'm currently reading this book. It's a really good read, really quick read. I'm on chapter 28 of 34, so I'm almost done with this book, and I'm really happy that I'm reading it. Black Boy by Richard Wright. So this book is about his life and how he grew up in the Jim Crow South in Mississippi, Tennessee, and in places like that. And being from the South, I'm really interested in reading this. And I started reading this book a long time ago. I even have notes and some annotations in the front of the book, but never got around to finishing it. So I really want to read this in 2018. And number 3, Calling Me Home by Julie Kibler. I don't know much about this book at all. I saw it on the shelves one day at Target, I think, and it looked interesting. And it's about a woman that is set in a time 30 years later, and she's getting her hair done at a hairdresser. This is what it says on the back of the book. And she asked her hairdresser to take her to Ohio, and I think they're in Texas for a funeral. And I think that it's about an interracial couple and that he probably died or something, and they never have seen each other since or something like that. So I don't know much about this book, but I'm excited to read it in 2018. Number 4, Scarpetta by Patricia Cornwell. So I typically don't read books like this. I'm not really into mysteries or anything like that. The only mystery, really kind of murder mystery book that I've read before is TikTok by Dean Koontz, and I can put that in the description box below. This book is has an interesting introduction. Talks about a woman named Kay Scarpetta, and she leaves her job in South Carolina and she goes to New York, and the man that she is working with is a murderer supposedly, but he really didn't commit the murder, and he specifically requests her to be on his case. And it's just a psychological thriller, I think. And so it's a pretty thick read, but I'm excited to read it because it's something that I typically won't read. The next book is A Good Woman by Danielle Steele. And this book I have read before, but I really can't remember anything about it. I know it was a really good book, but I really can't remember anything. I know it's about a woman set in Paris, of course, and she comes from privilege and a wealthy household, but I think she gets married to a military man, and he like cheats on her or leaves her or something, and she has a baby by him, and that's really all I know. I can't remember anything else, but I know it's a page turner, and I didn't like annotate it or highlight or anything because I was just reading it casually. So this is one I want to reread in 2018. The next book is 10 Questions to Diagnose Your Spiritual Health. This is a pretty straightforward, really thin read, quick read, and I think it's just 10 chapters, literally about 10 questions for each chapter poses the question to diagnose your spiritual health. So that's one I want to finish in 2018. Aaliyah by Christopher John Farley, and so this is a biography about Aaliyah, and I'm named after Aaliyah, the R&B singer. She passed away in 2002 or 2001, I think. I can't really remember, but I remember hearing about her death on the news when I was really young, and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is a woman I was named after. And so I want to read this book. Hopefully it'll give me more insight about her life that I don't already know from media and like that Lifetime movie that I saw and things like that. So hopefully this book will explore some things we don't know about Aaliyah. The next book I'm really excited to read, and that is The God of Small Things by Arundhati Roy. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And this is a book about two fraternal twins, and they come from a affluent Indian family, and it talks about a lot from cultural tradition, Indian history, and the caste system and things like that, and goes really deep into Indian culture and tradition and like their lives and how it plays out, and talks about forbidden love. And so that's really all I know about it, but I'm excited to read this. I was supposed to read this like my senior year of high school and never read it, so it's been on my shelf since then, and I'm excited to read this. Little B by Cleave. Excuse the cover, or the non-cover I should say. This book survived with me through a flood, and I still want to read it. Still haven't read it. I think I read the first chapter, and literally the back of it says that they don't want to tell you much about this book because they don't want to give away the story. And so I thought that was an interesting just synopsis of the book. I know it's about two women. I think one is in London and then another one is in Nigeria, and somehow their stories intersect, but I don't really know much about this book. So Little B by Cleave. The next one is How People Change, and this book is by Timothy S. Lane and Paul David Tripp. And as you can see on the front, I really don't like this cover. I don't know why, but it's not really appealing to me. And it talks about like the evolution of people and how people change over time and in different seasons of life. So I'm really interested in how this will apply to my life currently, and it being a new year and all that. So How People Change. This next read, I'm really ashamed, guys, that I have not read this book, but it's been on my shelf since it came out in 2005. So that is Twilight. I've never read this book. Of course, I've seen the movies and things like that, but I think I watched another YouTube video of a woman saying that she read this and it like changed her life and stuff like that. I don't know. But of course, we were in middle school or something when this came out, but I've never read it. And of course, it's like simple language. I flipped through it, and it should be a quick read. Even though I think I was intimidated by how thick the book was when I first got it. I was like, I just want this book because everyone has it. And I never read it. So I want to finish Twilight in 2018. Next up is a selection of writings by W.E.B. DuBouis, and I'm excited to read this because, of course, I've read some of his writings in African American literature and things like that, but haven't really gone in depth with his writings, and also just learn about the man of W. Du Bois and see who he is through his writings and things like that. So some of the selections on here include Jesus Christ in Georgia, Women's Suffrage, Booker T. Washington, The Souls of White Folk, The Talented Tenth, The Burden of Black Women, things like that. And so I got this book a few months ago when I visited the Civil Rights Museum, and so I'm excited to read this. Let the Nations Be Glad by John Piper. This is a book that I've heard a lot of people talk about that I've never read. It's been on my shelf. I got it at a conference for free, I think, and have never read it. It's a sequel to another book by him, The Supremacy of God or something like that. So I can't remember, but it's talking about like missions and worship and things like that. So don't really know much about it, but I'm excited to read this. The next book is something I typically wouldn't read either. The Constant Princess by Philippa Gregory. And I got this book a long time ago when I watched the movie Another Boleyn Girl. And I was really like into that movie. I loved it. And so this is a fictional novel kind of like set before, well, set in the same era, but set before Anne Boleyn, and this is talking about like the marriage and the power of England and Spain and Henry VIII and things like that. So this is a fictional book about that time and about that era. And again, this is something I typically wouldn't read, but yeah, I just want to expand my horizons a little bit and dig into this. The next book is the next book is not Amy Tan. The next book is The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. And again, I was supposed to read this book my senior year of high school, never read it. And it's about 4 Chinese immigrant women. They come from China and they come to San Francisco, and they kind of form their own group or women's group, and they play games, they talk about different issues, they talk about their children, things like that. And so yeah, I think it just examines their lives, and it kind of shows how their lives intertwine even in unexpected ways and how they don't know it. So yeah, it should be a pretty quick read, and I'm excited about this. The next book, When Helping Hurts. This book is by Steve Corbett and Brian Fikkertt, and I've never read this book. I have a bookmark in it now, but I shouldn't. I've never read this book. I've heard a lot about it, and I think it's talking about missions and how people go overseas and help different people, but how really in some ways they're helping hurt the society and hurt the economy and things like that. So I think this book examines all of those different scenarios and how we can help in a sustainable way and in a long-term way. So excited to read this, and hopefully it'll change kind of my perspective of helping others. The next one is Infidel by Ayaan, Hirsi, Ali. Yes, and I got this book my freshman year in college, and I was supposed to read this book in World Civilization. Never finished it. I started it, but never finished it. And it's just a critically acclaimed book. It has a lot of praises, but then also a lot of criticism about it as well. So it's an autobiography about her life. She was born in Somalia, but then traveled a lot, I think as a refugee, or she was seeking asylum. And she traveled to like Ethiopia, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, and things like that. And then she ended up in the Netherlands seeking political asylum. And she talks about different issues in her life. It goes through her story as a youth in these different countries, and being raised in a Muslim family, and talking about just the role of women and things like that. So this would be a really good book. I'm really interested in reading this and just learning more about her life, and even after this book was written, because I think it was written in early 2000s, 2007. And so just even where she is now in her life and how she looks at her work and reflecting back on her youth. So yeah, excited to read Infidel by Ayaan, Hirsi, Ali. The last book of the year, well, not the year, hopefully, I don't know, but Humility, and this is a really short book, and it's by Andrew Murray, and I've had this book for a long time. I think I got it at a conference, and just talking about the humility we should have in relationships, in the workplace, in our prayers, and all of our lives, and how we should be humble. So excited to read this and finish off the year. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. That's all I have for 18 books to read in 2018. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and comment below if you have any books that you're reading this year in 2018, or if you want to be more of a reader. Give me some suggestions to add to my reading list, and also subscribe if you want to see more videos like this about books, travel, just my life, and story times and things like that. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.